Now, obviously, Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be launching on PlayStation 5 a few days after this particular direct goes live. It's going to be launching only on PlayStation 5 because of developmental difficulties with the Xbox version, specifically the implementation of split screen on Xbox Series S. During Gamescom, there's a really good interview on Eurogamer with Phil Spencer where he's essentially doubling down on Series X and its importance. But at the same time, it does look as though they have made compromises to allow Baldur's Gate to appear on Xbox Series consoles, specifically by temporarily, I hope, removing split screen from the Series S version of the game, which basically is an adjustment to the technical requirements that Microsoft has. But John, I'd say it's a positive one.
Yeah, I would say so too. It's actually this is a limitation we were concerned about for a while regarding the Series S, is that could it potentially hold back games in Series X in specific instances or with specific features? Would it affect the release of them, which was previously the case with this game? But they made the choice to go ahead and cut that split screen feature, possibly add it later if they can get it working on Series S to ensure that the game still ships on Xbox. And I think for this project, it's absolutely the right call. And I hope that this is kind of like opening the floodgates, so to speak, for future situations like this. I know it's a little bit tricky, but it actually reminds me of the old Xbox Live Arcade limitation, where early on games were only allowed to be like, say, it was very small, like 100 megs, or I don't remember the exact number, but it was very small. And then Castlevania Symphony of the Night comes along, and it doesn't fit within that limit. And Konami basically requested to have that limit removed, and Microsoft obliged. And ever since then, they allowed larger games on Xbox 360's digital marketplace. So I kind of view this as a similar thing where during the early part of the generation, they have this strict limitation in place, but now it's like, okay, maybe we can relax this a little bit. I mean, obviously, they still want to ensure that Series S owners get a good experience, right? You don't want to allow a situation where a game turns out great on Series X and terrible on Series S, right? Nobody wants that. But I think with specific features and things like this, where the Series S maybe just isn't quite there, it makes a lot of sense, right? So this is likely a reactionary thing, given the fact that this basically reviewed as like the most popular or the highest rated PC game ever on Metacritic, or at least RPG on Metacritic, right? So like its reception, it being such a great game, likely pushed their hand a little bit where they're like, okay, we need to get this on Xbox. And they're right. But
yeah. Well, early access opens as we speak tomorrow. I'm kind of very curious to see what this split screen mode looks like on PlayStation 5, because the game's heavy, right?
Yeah.
You know, we didn't really look at split screen on PC, right?
No.
But I can't imagine that the CPU requirement, which is already onerous in that third act, is actually going to get lighter by having split screen. And so the concept of how that's going to play out on the PlayStation 5, well, we've got our save games ready, right, Alex?
Yeah, let's just hope they transfer over just fine. I know Oliver, when we were trying to do it, when he was looking at it, covering the game on Steam Deck, we were having issues there with him using my saves. So I'm just hoping that Larian launcher, which is definitely not annoying, works really well for this instance where we want to see what the heck's going to happen on PlayStation 5. They just released patch number 2, which apparently does offer a number of CPU-related optimizations that will help the third act out. This happened last evening. I have yet to even touch it. I don't even know what that does. Interestingly, a lot of them were based around optimizations for controller input and CPU stuff, which is a very weird. To say the least, when I was doing the benchmarking of that Baldur's Gate 3 third act, you can't really benchmark the game by moving with the mouse because you're like constantly clicking, and it's different every time. The way the characters do their startup and stop animation, it's just not going to offer actually a smooth scrolling experience to do that benchmark in a reasonable way. So I did it with a controller, which the game obviously supports. And it would be pretty funny if they were doing some really bad stuff with the controller pulling, which was breaking the game. Obviously, I don't know about that. But if they manage, I think pre-release, it was targeting 60 FPS on PlayStation 5. I think we heard that from a couple people.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
I remember that was the impressions that were given, at least I think from people that we talked to at EG.
Okay.
And that would be intense if they managed that. I would like to know how, but currently I'm in the doubt category. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, interesting stuff. Obviously, we're going to be taking a look at that one as quickly as we can, but do bear with us because the schedule's a nightmare at the moment. But we'll get onto it as quickly as we can.